Well afternoon and welcome back to NATO. Welcome also to Colonel Roland Lavoie, our military spokesperson for Operation Unified Protector, who will give you an operational update in a moment. But before I hand over to Roland, there are two brief points I would like to make from here, from NATO headquarters. First, on Libya, NATO allies and our partners are following developments in the country closely. Our mission is to prevent attacks and threats against civilians, and nations are absolutely determined to continue that mission. We have made clear that there has to be a political solution to the crisis, but we have made it equally clear that our military operation will continue for as long as it is needed. Gaddafi cannot wait us out, and as long as his forces continue to attack or threaten civilians, and as long as they continue to try and cut off humanitarian aid, our operations will continue in Libya. Second, on Afghanistan, over the last week you have seen that Afghan security forces have formally taken the security lead in 7 provinces and districts. This is an important milestone which puts almost a quarter of the Afghan population under the protection of the Afghan National Security Forces. NATO and partner forces continue to support them, but in those areas, the Afghans are in the lead, and this is what transition is all about. This is part of our agreed strategy, and it is a significant step towards our shared goal of seeing Afghans in the lead across the country by the end of 2014. NATO congratulates the Afghans on the progress they have made so far, and we will continue to stand by them as they take responsibility for more and more of the country. And with that, I will hand over to Roland in Naples. Roland, the floor is yours, please. The floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Carmen, and bonjour, and welcome to those who are joining us from Brussels and also from here in Naples. It has been another intensive week here in our campaign, and I'm pleased to give you a short overview and to answer to your questions. Let's take a look at the current situation on the ground in Libya, which remains very, very dynamic. Fighting between pro and anti-Gaddafi forces continues on multiple fronts throughout the country. The scene is very volatile, resulting in dangerous situation for the civilian population. Both Brega and Misrata areas continue to be heavily contested, and the situation is constantly changing. In Brega, pro-Gaddafi forces are trying to contain the advance of anti-Gaddafi forces through the use of obstacles, including minefields and burning oil trenches. Pro-Gaddafi forces are using the Zlitan and the Tawirga areas as bases from which to conduct indiscriminate shellings against Misrata, the city's population, and its harbor, which is a point of entry for life-saving humanitarian aid. Munitions launched from a distance, mines and burning oil trenches are being used by pro-Gaddafi forces in a manner that does not differentiate between non-combatants and anti-Gaddafi fighters. They further imperil the lives of the citizens in the areas. Tripoli, of course, remains the epicenter of Gaddafi's campaign against the Libyan civilian population. It is from there that attacks against the populations are planned and directed from facilities like the Bab al-Aziziyah compound. The compound, measuring over 6 square kilometers, is the command and control headquarters for this regime, including army barracks and a small airstrip. Within Tripoli and throughout the rest of the country, the Gaddafi regime is systematically deceiving its own population and leading a campaign of misinformation for the world to watch. You will have seen the Gaddafi regime organizing rallies, taking journalists to bogus strike areas, claiming that NATO is targeting civilian facilities, or portraying those who oppose him as traitors. Pro-Gaddafi forces are increasingly occupying facilities which once held a civilian purpose. These sites include former stables, agricultural facilities, commercial and industrial warehouses, factories, and basic food processing plants. By occupying and misusing these facilities, the regime has transformed them into military installations from which it commands and conducts attacks, causing them to lose their formerly protected status and rendering them valid and necessary military objectives for NATO. Looking now at NATO operations, our forces continue to focus on the highly contested areas of Brega and Misrata, including former civilian structures now used by the military. This is helping to alleviate the pressure on the population, of course. Again, I want to assure you that NATO assesses all strike targets with the utmost diligence and care after rigorous intelligence analysis. In the Zliten area, NATO has struck a variety of targets. These consisted of military facilities, rocket launchers, tanks, military vehicles, and adapted armed vehicles. The purpose of these strikes is the protection of the population and maintaining the lines of communications for humanitarian shipping. Now in the area of Brega, NATO strikes included armored vehicles, rocket launchers, military storage facilities, and a repurposed concrete factory from which pro-Gaddafi forces were using multi-barrel rocket launchers, exposing the population to indirect fire. Let me show you some intelligence pictures that illustrate what we have observed at this concrete factory. Slide 1, please. By the way, these pictures will be made available on the NATO site, so it will be possible for the media to download them. So basically, repeatedly over the past few weeks, we got clear intelligence indicating that pro-Gaddafi forces are using this factory for military purposes. The factory is being used to hide military material, including multiple rocket launchers. These weapons have been used every day from within this factory compound and then carefully hidden after the day within or along massive concrete pipes that you could see on this picture. The first picture shows you a multiple rocket launcher on the concrete factory compound. Could you please put the other slide? Yeah, here it is. This picture was taken a few days earlier and shows you different types of military material hidden at the factory. Thank you very much. So switching the attention now, our attentions to Tripoli, successive strikes in the past week have inflicted extensive damage to military facilities in Tripoli. Most recently, NATO planes struck the perimeter of the Bab al-Azazia compound multiple times, destroying vital security towers and reducing the regime ability to threaten and intimidate the people of Tripoli. This point cannot be stressed enough. We are acting to protect the Libyan population. Our actions are funded on a UN mandate, and NATO remains fully committed to the protection of civilians from attacks or threats of attacks, to continuing arms embargo, and to enabling the safe delivery of humanitarian assistance. I welcome your questions either in French or in English. Thank you.